So recently Brian Lunduke made a video and an article titled "Humans Forgot How to Be Offline," and I thought it'd be fun to talk about that from the perspective of someone who spent basically his entire life with an internet connection. So if you're new to this channel, remember to subscribe and ding the little bell icon down below because it'll really help the channel out. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs by some point in the future, and any help will be really appreciated. So now that's out of the way, let's get started. Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So I will leave a link to the article and the video in the description down below if you want to check it out for yourself. But for context, so I am 21 this year, or I turned 21 this year I guess. And I think I've had an internet connection, so I've been playing RuneScape, or at least I started playing RuneScape back in like 2006. So what's that? 13 years ago? So I would have been 8. Yeah, I would have been about 8 or so when I got an internet connection. Maybe it was a bit earlier than that, but that's the first thing that I can remember. So that's how long I've been on the internet. So I think that I've basically grown up my entire life having an internet connection. Sure, there's that small part of my life where I didn't, but I basically don't remember anything from that point, so it's not really too important. The reason I want to talk about it like this is because Brian's a bit older, so he grew up in a time where he actually spent his entire childhood without an internet connection. It wasn't until he was in his teenage years where he actually got one. Whereas throughout my entire life, I've basically had an internet connection. So I think I could give a bit of a different context for this topic, I guess. So when I was a teenager in the 1990s, going online, connecting to the internet was something you had to actively choose to do. So I originally had a dial-up connection, so at that point it was something you still had to choose. But I reckon at least throughout all of high school, I would have had a Wi-Fi connection, and I know I had a smartphone, so I could have just connected to Wi-Fi whenever I wanted to. So the default state of being human was, as it has been for the entire history, offline. We want to send an email. First thing first, you need to consciously take the step to go online, typically via a dial-up modem or an analog phone line. When you were done sending email, you disconnected, and like magic, the natural state of being offline was established. I don't remember what this is actually like. So back when I was 8, I wasn't sending email to anyone. All I went online for was to go onto YouTube. I'm pretty sure, yeah, YouTube was 2006. So I did know about YouTube back then, and I went online to play RuneScape. But when I had a dial-up connection, yeah, I still had to dial in. But ever since I've had a DSL connection, it's just been there, and whenever I wanted to connect, I could connect. Having dinner with your friends or family, you're offline. Now I don't actually, it actually really bothers me when I go out with someone and they're just looking at the phone. Maybe I'm just a bit of a boomer, but if I'm out with someone, just don't look at your phone. I want to have a conversation with you. Going for a walk in the park, offline. Go for a walk anywhere, see if you can find anyone that's actually offline at this point. Shopping, using the restroom, watching a TV show, commuting to work, and in most cases, working at your job, all offline. Find a job now where you're offline all the time. Even things where you're doing like I'm doing, night fill. There are still times where you're going to be connected online. Usually it's just for training, but even in a situation like that, you can't get away from being connected to the internet. Flash forward to 2019 and the inverse is true. We are, as human beings, almost perpetually connected to the internet. Our default state has become online. So I've been trying to change this recently. I'm not doing as extreme as what Brian is doing at this point, where he's actively connecting to the internet. I would like to definitely start applying that to my life, but I do a lot of uni stuff, and just dealing with connecting to the uni website when I need it is a bit of a hassle. If I can make it work, then I'm going to do it for sure. But one thing that I have started doing is, so my phone is now back there. You can't see it, but I've got a table back there. My Wi-Fi's turned off. I've got my my alerts or my ringtone on. So if someone calls me, then I can answer it, or if someone sends me a message. But I don't have the data connected, I don't have Wi-Fi connected, so if someone sends me a message on, say, Messenger or something like that, then I'm not going to hear it. Right now, what it's basically acting as is like an old-style home phone, where it's going to sit in one place, it's going to stay there. I do take it with me when I go out, because occasionally I'll get called in to go into work early, but I don't connect to Wi-Fi when I'm going out anymore. I just enjoy the world pretty much. And I know that's definitely not the way that most people use their phones anymore, for sure. It is now rare to be offline and so difficult to achieve a truly offline state that many consider a lack of internet access to be some sort of unusual vacation or form of torture. So I know that I was treating it like this before. When I go up to my parents' place, what I usually do is I will completely disconnect from the internet. I don't do anything online. If I need to have videos uploading during that time, I'm going to queue them up before I go up. And then while I'm there, I'm going to just... Because it's the Riverland. I'm going to go enjoy the river. I'm going to do whatever you do in the Riverland. There's not much to do. There's lots of walking and enjoying the scenery. But just taking that time to just be in the world, I think, is important. And a lot of people... I guess a lot of people don't do that anymore. So to be disconnected from email, social media, Facebook, Twitter, etc., YouTube, and so many other online services has become a significant challenge. So I try to avoid using Facebook and Twitter. Twitter I use a little bit. Facebook I don't even have in my bookmarks anymore. Twitter I mainly just use as a way to send out video notifications. I don't use it for anything else. If people want to get in contact with me, my Discord is probably the best way to do it, and that's in the description down below. But I can't even guarantee that I'm going to be in there a lot, so we'll see how that goes. So, want to buy toys for your kids? Most big toy stores have closed, gotta hop online. I know that Toys R Us has shut down around the place. I'm not sure any other big toy places apart from that, but I presume that most of them are shutting down. I know there are a couple of little hobby stores around my place, but there's no like massive chains that exist anymore. Want to read your favorite magazines? Odds are that either it ceased publication entirely or it's only available online in digital form. So I don't really have any favorite magazines, but all of my news at this point comes from basically Hacker News and similar sites like that. So the school my daughter is going to requires the parents to create and manage 4 accounts on different websites to handle registration and talking with the teachers. 4 websites required to go to school. So I do remember that at school there were a few accounts you had to have, but those didn't really come in until when did I graduate? What, 2015, 2016, something like that? And I think it wasn't until... I know that in grade 8, every student had a laptop. We all had 2010 MacBooks. They were trash. I love them. But everyone had one. And I think basically all the work we did was on the laptops. So it was kind of considered a punishment if you were made to do work on paper, which I think is a weird state to be in. We've only really had devices like this as consumer devices for a couple of years. Not even the length of my entire life have people been walking around with laptops. And we're already at the stage where it's considered weird to just do work without a laptop and do work without an internet connection. I think in my 11th and 12th grade, we had to have a few accounts to get our grades from... So in South Australia, our grades come from a system called SATAC, and the only way to get the grades anymore, I believe, is I don't think they even send them out to you, so you have to actually go and get them off of the SATAC website. At least with my year, they still sent them out, but I've heard from my younger sister that they don't even do that anymore. You have to actually go online to get your grades, so you don't even know what you even got in that year without having an internet connection. I'm sure we could all come up with numerous examples of ways in which living a regular life completely sans internet has become an almost impossible task nowadays, all of which makes it an increasing challenge to simply disconnect even for a limited period of time. So, as I said earlier, I am trying to disconnect more, but we'll see how that goes because, as I said, I have a lot of stuff that I have to do online, and sometimes it is nice to just be able to, if I have some sort of coding question, I can look it up and go to Stack Overflow. And the internet is a really useful tool, but I think that a lot of people are overusing it, and especially with things like having always-on notifications. There's no need to always be getting notifications to your phone, to your laptop, to whatever other devices you're using. Just check your notifications at periods of time, like at the point now, because I don't have notifications on my laptop, they'd be coming in through my phone, I don't have that connected to the internet. So if I want to see any messages I get on Messenger, for example, I have to actively go to the Messenger website. And as you can see now, I've got my Wi-Fi disconnected. So first I would have to connect to my Wi-Fi. Then I would have to actively go to that website because I actively want to see those notifications. They're not just going to always be there, just waiting for me to click on them. Now we could list out all of the ways that the internet has been used to harm our lives, enabling online activation. I absolutely hate when devices require you to go on the internet just to activate them, or just say like smart toasters. Why do you need a smart toaster? What productive use is adding internet connectivity to a toaster going to give you? One thing I saw recently, which I think is a hilariously bad idea, is there was an ad for this electric lock. Basically, it replaced your normal lock, and it had like a electric keypad on it, and you could unlock it with like your phone's infrared or something. And what's going to happen when you don't have an internet connection in your house? What's going to happen if your power goes out? You're not going to be able to unlock your door. Stop doing that. That's a very bad idea. DRM, the removal of almost all privacy, enabling social media. I think that social media definitely has some benefits. Like YouTube, for example, it is kind of a social media platform at this point. And it enables me to actually create these videos and share this information with you guys and just meet so many awesome people online. But it also obviously comes with the downsides of people being obsessed with it, always focusing on what other people are saying about them on it, and never really, I guess, communicating with people in person, just spending all of their time talking with people online and never actually meeting up and just being face-to-face with someone. Because I feel like being face-to-face with someone will solve a lot of the, I guess, fighting that happens on these platforms. And because are you really going to act like some people act on social media when you're directly in front of a person? Because I don't think you're going to, especially when it comes to just some of the vitriol that comes out of these platforms. And we could flip the list around and list all the ways out the internet has improved things. Increased speed of communication, that's a very big thing, especially for big companies, where at a time it was quicker to literally truck the hard drives to a data center than it was to actually send the data over the internet. Where was I up to? Making it easier to move large amounts of data. The point I basically just made there. And obviously the communication point. I can communicate with friends that I've got in Poland. I can communicate with friends that I've got in America. The internet enables this ability to just communicate with everyone, but with that comes the ability to fight with everyone as well. But that leads to an argument about whether or not the internet is a net positive or negative thing. Do the positives outweigh the negatives? I'm going to posit that the answer to that question is somewhat irrelevant. There's simply no real point in even having that debate, because we as human beings were not always built to be online. Now, this isn't a naturalist argument like it may seem like. I believe that he brings up the point later on, but yeah, here we go. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. So being online for a human is sort of like swimming in the ocean. We can do it for limited amounts of time. Some of us can stay afloat a bit longer than others. Kevin Costner notwithstanding, eventually we need to head back to land to dry off. If you don't get that joke, that's a Waterworld joke. It's a very old joke, and I completely understand that most people wouldn't get it. Stay swimming in the ocean too long and things aren't going to go your way. The pure fact is that human beings, certainly at least in our current state, don't handle being in a constant state of contact with hundreds and thousands of people all at the same time very well. No, that's a gross understatement. We handle it astoundingly poorly. Our brains and bodies simply are not designed for it. So here he gives a fairly good analogy about what it's really like to be on the internet. So close your eyes and imagine this. Imagine yourself in the middle of a parking lot, filled not with cars, but people. People everywhere. Every square inch is packed with thousands upon thousands of humans, all of them shouting to get your attention about a wide variety of topics all at once. This is what it's like to have, say, you have notifications coming in from Amazon, eBay, your friends, your random people who you're fighting with online. You get comments on YouTube, you get comments from Twitter, you get all of these different places, all of these people trying to get your attention, and a lot of it just doesn't matter. And having all that noise just coming into your life, you end up wasting tons and tons of time just shuffling through the mess, not really doing anything productive. And when you do find a conversation that you want to get into, a lot of the time, it's not even going to be worth your time. Like, it's one thing to say, I don't know, your friends are messaging you, but if you're having just some political argument on Twitter, you're not really doing anything productive, you're just wasting time for the sake of wasting time. And sure, if you find that fun, that's all well and good, but I guarantee that most people who do it don't find that fun. It's just a way to, I guess, I don't know, deal with that noise that's coming in, because, yeah, our brains just don't deal with having all of these people talking to us all at once. So that's what the internet has become. Family, friends, co-workers, bosses, internet friends and followers, random people that saw your comment about Star Wars and now demand that you talk to them about it. Every person who disagrees with your political or religious beliefs, and that doesn't even begin to include all of the companies and organizations you do business with, stores, utilities, travels, etc. Yeah, basically that's the point I was bringing up just then. It is utter chaos, and more to the point, it makes our lives worse, increasing stress levels, increasing rates of depression, lowering our time and energy to do things that are offline, also known as real things in the real world. I know that there are a lot of people who make the argument that, oh, internet things are real things, and sure, there are some things on the internet that are real things that you really care about, but do you really care about scrolling through your feed on Facebook? Do you really care about scrolling through Reddit and just not really doing anything? Or would you rather use that time, if you're going to be online, say, I don't know, say you're a software developer, it might be more productive to use your time online to do something like, I don't know, I don't understand this API, let's go look up the spec, let's go to Stack Overflow to see if someone's answered this for me, or some other productive use like that. Whereas just scrolling through feeds, you're not really doing anything. And here's the fun part, there is no way to fix it. I don't think that's really the case. I think that you can definitely get to a point where we reduce the number of notifications that are coming in, but the problem's still going to exist, even if it's just in a neutered state, basically. Sure, some companies and software projects try to ease the pain of the deluge of communication coming from the internet, making things 0.3% simpler here and there, but the truth is, humans just weren't built to function like this. We need quiet time. I think that's very important. We need to be disconnected. Being disconnected like we were for roughly 100% of all human history feels good, it feels right. Gives us a chance to breathe, think, to observe, to talk in a one-on-one way with others. I think one thing that I was doing recently was I've been grabbing my phone as soon as I got out of bed and just scrolling through, say I've got some comments or I've got some new subscribers, or I don't know, I want to look at Hacker News first thing in the morning, instead of doing something like, not even just getting out of bed, just looking at my phone as soon as I wake up. Right now, what I've decided to do is, when I get my phone out, it's going to be pretty much only to use YouTube, just to watch videos. I don't care about comments mainly, unless they're mine. I'll usually go through mine, but if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it on my computer. When I actually want to do something on the internet, I'm going to go to my computer and use it as a way to access the internet, not constantly be, I guess, bombarded with all these notifications that come in, because I definitely think it's not a healthy way to live your life like that. This isn't a new thought. In the late 90s and early 2000s, we all knew that being online too much was a problem. We cautioned against it. The internet is great. Look at all that it enables us to do, we said. Just be sure to disconnect, hang up that modem, and go do something else as much as you can. I do remember this from early in my childhood. There was a little bit of the stay away from the internet, or I guess don't use the internet too much mentality back when I was a kid, but I guess I haven't really seen that in a very long time. Ever since probably I was in high school, so what was that, 2010? I haven't seen anything like that since then. And I think that even if you do start bringing that up now, a lot of people aren't going to listen, because we've just gotten accustomed to using the internet, even with all of the drawbacks that it does come with. There are so many people who just don't know what to do if you take their phone away from them. Like, you can read a book, you can go outside, go for a walk, you can meet up with people and talk to people. You don't always have to be connected to the internet. Somewhere over the last 20 or so years, we forgot that lesson. We've decided that every one of us must always have a connected computer or smartphone in our pocket at all time. I don't know how you're going to put a connected computer in your pocket, but good luck with that. I guess a phone's basically a computer at this point, so it doesn't actually matter. That using a laptop or a desktop computer is pointless without a good Wi-Fi. And to be sure, we couldn't possibly be productive without a good internet connection. There are a lot of things that you can't do productively without an internet connection, for sure. But things like if you want to do writing, if you want to just program, if you're programming, you don't always have to be connected to the internet. One thing that you could do is disconnect, do some code, and if you need Stack Overflow for something, then connect then. I think that might be a much healthier way to approach the internet. We forgot a central part of how to be human, to be truly offline. What got us to this point, in my opinion, a common human reaction to the invention of a new technology. We overuse it. Cars are a great example of this. The invention of the automobile was an amazing moment in human history. Cars and trucks, etc., made so many things not just easier, but possible. Then we as humans overused it. Not only does every family need a car, every adult needs their own. And people stopped simply walking places. We stopped connecting with the world around us as much, and we all, by and large, got less healthy in the process. I don't exactly agree with this. So I think it probably is for the best for everyone to have a car, because it allows you to connect with more of the world. Like, I have a job that is about 15-minute drive from my house, which, yes, you could walk it. Or I could take public transport, but it's so much more efficient for me to get there with my car. And say I want to go to the beach. The beach is a good, I reckon, half-hour drive. If I want to go to the beach and then walk around, I can. Without having a car, that is just something that is completely impossible. Or, I guess, completely impractical. Yes, I could get there, but the distance makes the process of getting there not worth it. So yeah, I'd be able to walk around my local neighborhood and get everything I want done in my regular life, and I could get a job that's closer. Like, there is a supermarket that is closer to me that's like a 15-minute walk. But having a car definitely does let you, I guess, see more of the world. Antibiotics are another area where we saw something good and used it way too much. I don't think there's a single person that will say antibiotics are bad. Heck, they've saved my life on more than one occasion. I know that I can definitely say that as well. But then doctors began prescribing them for just about every ailment under the sun, even going so far as to prescribe them as preventative measures. The end result is a surge of antibiotic-resistant bacteria that pose a massive threat to the health and lives of all humans. So, I typically avoid using antibiotics unless I really need them. Most of the time, you don't need to take anything when you've got like a common cold. Just weather it out. You're going to get better. Obviously, there are times when that's not the case, but I don't want to contribute to the growing, I guess, need to use stronger and stronger antibiotics because this bacteria is just getting more and more resistant to it. If I can power it out, I'm going to do that, even if it will take a couple extra days. It's what we do. We invent something cool, something that used sparingly makes our lives better. Then we use it 10 times more than it should be used, thus turning a great thing into a living horror. That's what we've done with the internet. We took something great, dare I say amazing, and we're turning it into a negative through overuse. As for a solution to this problem, I'm honestly unsure. Perhaps we need to set personal limits to the amount of time we spend online each day, not unlike a parent limiting how much screen time or TV time a kid can have, but for the internet and self-imposed. I think it probably is for the best if people do something like this. I don't think you should have a hard cap, because an arbitrary cap doesn't really make any sense. It might be for the best to just, when you're not using the internet, when you're programming, you're doing you're doing anything on your computer that doesn't require an internet connection, just disconnect. Because I know that when I'm doing something like programming, I will occasionally get distracted and then just open up some random website. Like, I don't use Reddit much, but occasionally it will distract me, and I'm like, I'm just going to scroll through Reddit instead of putting some time into this work. And I feel like that just wastes time doing absolutely nothing. It's one thing to go and look at the news because you want to see the news. It's another thing to go and look at it because you're trying to avoid doing any real work. Maybe an hour each day, hop online. I don't really think an arbitrary limit, as I said, makes any sense, because it's going to be different from day to day. Check email, sync with your online file storage, chat with a friend, play a couple of rounds of games, then jump offline back to the real world. Seems like an almost crazy limitation, doesn't it? Limiting your internet time. Preposterous. And perhaps that's a good indication that it's a time for a bit of an intervention. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about the arbitrary limit, but I just don't think that an arbitrary limit really makes any sense. But if you do want to set yourself some limit like that because you think it's going to be, I guess, a better way to use the internet, then I'm not going to stop you. Do whatever you want with your time. But I think that you're probably better off working out what you need the internet for, and I guess finding ways to avoid using it in other ways. Like, I know there are people who will say, this was mentioned in Lunduke's video, where they'll download a bunch of podcasts and whatever web pages they need and whatever videos they want to watch and whatever news they want to read, and they'll just download that at the start of the day and then not go on the internet for the rest of the day. And that's an interesting approach to actually using the internet. But for someone who actually uses it for things like getting to Stack Overflow, reading API specs online. API specs, I guess you could download, but Stack Overflow is one of those things where it's probably useful to have it, or you want to do some research, you want to go to Wikipedia. If you're going to limit your time arbitrarily, I don't think that's useful in that case, but if you're just going to say, I'm going to write this report, and I'm going to go online, so I'm going to turn my Wi-Fi on, I'm going to plug an Ethernet cable in, I'm going to go on Wikipedia, I'm going to do some research, and then I'm going to go offline. I think, even without the arbitrary limit, that probably makes sense for a lot of people. I know that when I work with something like Google Docs, for example, because a lot of my mates at uni like using Google Docs, I will get distracted when I'm using that because I just have that internet connection there. Even if you don't think the distraction is there, it's always there, and as soon as you let yourself get tempted by it, you're going to let yourself just go off and do whatever, and maybe you enjoy that. But for me, I want to spend as much of my time actually using it productively so that one day I guess the effort that I put in when I'm young actually does pay off, rather than just wasting that time, and then when I get to being older, I'm like, why didn't I just spend that time doing something useful with my time? So, I don't think I really have much else to say for this video, so I reckon I'm going to cut it here. I'm looking at my recording, and it's just about to go over half an hour, so I don't know how long it's going to be when I actually edit this. I reckon I can probably cut like maybe 3 or 4 minutes out, because I know that there are a bunch of pauses in there that you're not going to see, but I'm going to have to see when I edit it. So, if you like this video, remember to smash that like button and leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think. If you want to go see Lunduke's video, I will put a link in the description down below, and also a link to the article, so if you want to read through it yourself, you can. And if you want to see more videos like this, remember to subscribe and ding the little bell icon down below, because it'll really help the channel out. And up on that corner, I will have the link to the playlist that this video is in, so go check that out. I've also got a Discord, and all of my videos are mirrored on LBRY, so if you want to see my videos somewhere that's not YouTube, go check LBRY out, or if you want to get notifications, Discord, or also my Twitter and my Mastodon, because YouTube can never be trusted to actually push updates to anyone. So, I think that's pretty much everything for me, so I'm out.